Hello, YouTube. Coming in at the start, we hope you enjoyed the podcast in the future. Just a quick note. Sorry, my voice is so quiet. I had to turn it down because there's some building work going on at the moment in my uni complex. You might be able to hear them in the background now. Not sure. So sorry if I'm a bit quiet. But you can hear everyone else just fine. And let us know what you want in the next podcast down in the comments below. We'd love to hear it. Enjoy the podcast.
Can you hear me?
Testing one, two, three.
Right. Welcome to the podcast, everybody. The this is the first one of a new series, hopefully, that we're going to be getting going. We've got
Woo.
me, Zach. We've got Finn. We've got Owen. We've got Abby. We've got Billy, and we've got Morgan. Hi guys. Hey everybody. Um,
Oh, hey.
yeah, oh hey.
Hello.
This week, first week, we thought we'd have a bit of fun. We've got a bunch of categories, just random obscure film categories, and we're going to come up with our favourite film within those categories. And we're going to rank them 1 to 6 because there's 6 of us. So it makes sense just to like put them in order, and just a bit of fun for the first podcast, right? The way we're going to structure it though, we're going to have 3 sections. We're going to have news of the week, film of the week, and then our main fun stuff, the stuff we're going into for the podcast. So we'll just start, right? News of the week. Not really news of the week. News of the before Christmas. Tom Cruise's outburst on set. Was it filming Mission Impossible? I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was new.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Billy, I know you know a lot about it, so hit us with the facts. Hit us with the
Bang.
details.
Yeah.
Bang.
Yeah. So we were saying, if you've seen Louis Theroux's Scientology, if you haven't, watch it because then it'll make sense. At first, like everyone was quite thankful, quite gracious, and it was quite a blessing for Tom Cruise coming forward, such a strong person in the film industry, to kind of take charge and say, look, guys, it is okay to get back on set. We are going to do fine. There's certain regulations, and a lot of people would have said Tom Cruise was the one that kind of kicked it back off for everyone. And then there's well, we say recently, not too long ago, what the set of Mission Impossible, he kind of just flipped out. And the recording got kind of linked out and people started to listen to it and it was like, hold on a second, obviously it's not too good. And it's not that rare where people have kind of had these little glimpses where they say actually Tom Cruise does have these moments. But if you watch the Scientology, you can kind of see Louis Theroux goes through the process and they're remaking the kind of what happened, and it's in a documentary style behind it, and that's his way of getting into it. But you can actually see the way the guy speaks in the Scientology was very similar to the way Tom Cruise was kind of composing himself and like implementing these kind of subliminal ways of talking to someone, and without being too like conspiracy or all this lot, you can just see quite a correlation of the way he was speaking to the people, and almost forcing this onto them. So it was an interesting one.
Yeah, it's funny because I listened to some of his outbursts and like what he was saying was fair enough. Like he was,
Hmm.
threatening to kick someone off the set if they didn't follow regulations and stuff. Um, so like what I say, I think, but then after hearing like the Scientology side, all that sort of stuff, it's like I don't, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, but
Yeah.
um, but yeah, that's our news for the this week or whatever.
Woo!
Film of the week. A couple of you have watched King of Staten Island, so
Good film.
hit us,
Fantastic
hit us,
film.
hit us with that. This is our film of the week. Why should you watch King of the Staten Island?
First of all, Pete Davidson. I mean,
I'm
stand-up
sorry,
comedian,
let's go.
absolutely funny guy. You should just watch it straight away. And I don't really know what to say about it. It's a great movie. It's a fantastic movie. It talks about 9/11, and the help me out, somebody. It's
The
yeah,
fire.
it's just yeah, that's it. Billy, you go.
Yeah, so you see this character that he plays, which isn't too dissimilar to himself, really, with what we can see through interviews and stuff.
Yeah,
And it gives you an insight of kind of the after effect of it, how it's affected someone. Obviously, it was dedicated to his dad, and we can see this character, and you can instantly connect with him. But I think the nicest thing with it, and you can tell it's someone who goes through it themselves, because it isn't this romantic love story where the male or the female kind of comes and they save the other person. It's just this down to earth, true reflection of this guy. There's elements of comedy, there's parts of his lows, and it just takes you through the journey really. I'd say a solid 9 out of 10.
So, like, I'm a person who obviously hasn't watched this week. You guys have watched it, so could you give me maybe like a small like synopsis without any spoilers of what might be happening? Because obviously it's a very like impactful film the way you are talking about it, but what actually, if you had to do like a little trailer, what would the film actually be about without giving away anything?
Yeah,
essentially, the way the movie kind of is essentially he's dealing with the grief of losing his dad, and he's trying to pick himself up to move on, but he's holding on to that grief. So he's seeing that change from when the movie begins to seeing him progress and move on, and that's the sort of change that you'll see throughout the movie. So it's essentially just seeing that change of his character with grief to moving on and not clinging on to the past.
So, King of Stratton-Arms, movie of the week. I'm
I mean,
watching it.
100%. Watch it.
Sounds really
Yeah, I'll add it to my list. I'll add it to the list.
Yeah.
Add it to the list. It's
I'll add it
What is
right
it
now.
on?
Add it to the list.
What is it on? Streaming service wise.
I think it's on Amazon.
I think
No, I
Amazon.
do love Amazon.
Amazon.
I think it's on Prime, isn't it?
Amazon Prime. There you go.
Well,
We're
great.
gonna have to get
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a fact checker.
So, should we just get started with the main talks, the beef, the shit.
The
right?
beef.
got some beef.
The beef. We're gonna
Beef.
go
Double up
into
clap.
the categories now.
Okay.
We've got 10 lined up, but depending on how the time goes, we might save some for another time. Starting off simple. What's the most underrated film you've ever watched? Yeah.
Most underrated.
Go on, add
Right.
it out then.
Okay. I'm actually really passionate about this film. This is like one of my favorite films, and everyone kind of writes it off. Everyone knows about it. Everyone loves it as just like as a single entity. But when you look into it, it's so more amazing than it is. The first Saw movie, like everyone's just like, oh yeah, it's just like gore, unnecessary gore. It's just a horror film. But Saw the first movie, if you actually sit there, like I'm not gonna give away spoilers or anything. I know Zach hasn't watched
I
it,
haven't watched
but
it.
like it's amazing. It's actually, I'd say the first one, the storyline, like if you sit and think about it, is the best out of all of the
What's it called?
movies. It's just Saw one,
Sure.
but
Oh,
it's actually like the least goriest. I'd say there's like one scene where you see something a little bit gory, but other than that, it kind of focuses on how the detectives have to solve like these murders that are going on, and how a person put in that position, how they would react, and would you want to like end up doing something absolutely horrible, or like it's the kind of like the fight or flight thing. And there's a massive twist. I'm not gonna like say anything, but it actually kind of, it's very smart the way it's written. The writing is amazing. It's very smart, and it's based in like reality anyway. The writer Lee Winnell, I think that's like how you pronounce his last name. He wrote the main like villain in the Saw films based on an experience he had in hospital, and like things, especially like you think about it all the time, people go missing all the time and you don't know what happens to them, so it's very real.
Yeah.
No, it's very like psychological, and I think that's why it's so smart. It's just not like, it redefined the horror genre, and it's not just like people go, oh yeah, it's like the first horror movie I watched, it's like just gory and that like that. But if you actually sit and think about it, it's very psychological and very like taps into the human brain. I think it's very clever, and I'd say it's more of a thriller than a horror. So that's like it's like one of my all-time favorite films. So I will argue the case on this being like most underrated all the time. But I think it's really cool.
That's a very compelling argument. Saw 1. So before we rank them, we'll go through everybody's thing. So Finn, do you want to go next? What's your most underrated film?
So mine is it's called Grosse Point Blank. It stars John Cusack as the lead, and he's basically this trained hitman who is kind of down in the dumps. Really, he's got a really pressured job as being a hitman, but he the one thing he wants to do is he wants to go to his high school sweetheart and just basically fall in love again. and because of his job, he can't really involve her at all. But he has to go to a reunion in Grosse Pointe where he has to meet up with her, and it's such a funny film. It's so well done.
Comedy?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a comedy film. It's meant to be anyway.
Yeah, and it's got him as this sort of really sarcastic sort of hitman. Then his opposite is played by Dan Aykroyd, who's from what's it called?
Love
Blues
Dan
Brothers.
Aykroyd.
Who plays the taller one? I can't remember his name now. So the comedy duo between the two of them is just so funny, and they just get on each other's nerves all the way through the film. Yeah, it's a brilliant film. Grosse Pointe Blank.
Sounds good.
It sounds a little like Johnny. Again, this is a film I haven't seen. It sounds a little like Johnny English. Like that.
Yeah, it kind of is. He's a much more, because the premise of Johnny English is that he's not really a competent spy at the beginning.
Yeah.
Whereas with Grosse Pointe Blank, Cusack's character is a very competent spy, and you see that in the montages before. But he's just like, he's anchored down by his past life, and the more he gets his childhood sweetheart involved, the more funny it gets, because she's just not prepared for it at all. It's brilliant. You have to watch it.
Okay.
Give it a watch.
Decent.
I've written it down. I will save that on a list.
Cool.
Yeah, my underrated film is Super, and it's one of them. It's hit and miss. People are kind of like Kick-Ass did better, but the point is, like, Kick-Ass was more. I'm pretty sure it had a higher budget, and it was doing a different scope. But with this, you've got this guy. His wife, who was his life, leaves him, and he's a fry cook. He's just a normal guy, very middle-aged, overweight. You're saying your average dad bod. You've got this guy, and then he watches this TV superhero guy, and he's like, midlife crisis. That is what I'm doing. And he goes around trying to do good with a wrench. And we see the character getting more and more into the role as he adding little bits to himself. And altogether, it's just one of them. It's a superhero comedy of kind of that offbeat kind of show. The Rotten Tomatoes scale is 49%. And it's one of them. I think you love it, you hate it. You either just don't appreciate kind of what it is, or if it had a bigger budget, it's one of them. People, Kick-Ass is better. For me, Super did it first.
There you go. That's a strong argument, actually. Super did it first. There you go.
That's a pretty good, strong argument.
Go on, then you go now, and then we'll go to Morgan.
Right, so for me, I'd probably have to say underrated is the movie Burnt with Bradley Cooper.
Oh,
I'd have to say that one, because, well, first of all, it's a fantastic movie. I worked in the kitchen when I was younger. I respect everything the chefs do, and seeing what he goes through in a kitchen is insane. Bradley Cooper went into a real life Michelin star kitchen with Gordon Ramsay, fun fact, and he learned how to cook to that extent with him, so he could better prepare for the role. And seeing what chefs of that level go through on a daily basis is quite a shock, inspiring, and just plain amazing to watch. Seeing them constantly moving everything around the kitchen, just adding little bits to the plate. It's amazing.
Like an underwatched film as well. I don't think many people have seen it.
I've never heard of it.
It's rated 6.6 on IMDb or IMD. So
I wouldn't
it's
say it's winning any Oscars soon, but it's like you're right.
It sounds really interesting though,
it's a
like
good
what
film.
Owen
It is a
said.
good
honestly, I would recommend watching it because one, Bradley Cooper. Anybody who loves Bradley Cooper is a movie to watch, for obvious reasons. And second, if you're interested in sort of like cookery movies or something, then definitely this one, because it's not just, a simple pub kitchen. It's the highest you can get in that industry. So seeing what it's like on the inside, it's a really good
I
insight
mean,
into
like
that
the
world.
fact that he trained with Ramsay as well is like next
Yeah.
level. Because if you've watched any of Gordon Ramsay's stuff, you know how much passion
Guilty.
he has for food and like
Oh, yeah.
how
Yeah,
much
cool.
stuff for that. So
He's
like,
into
yeah.
This is
Gordon
older than me.
Ramsay.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But 100%, I would recommend watching it. Great film.
Good,
And, yeah.
good underdog choice, I'm going to say, because I don't think
Yeah,
many
nice.
people
I like
have
that.
seen it.
It
Morgan,
sounds like an adult's Ratatouille.
yeah,
An adult
Yeah, adult
Ratatouille. I love
Ratatouille,
Ratatouille,
yeah.
so I'm
Yeah.
so down for that.
Ratatouille started throwing pots and pans around the kitchen, then I would 100% say, go do it.
okay.
Disney, get on this.
We'll go to you now, Morgan.
Okay.
Most underrated movie.
One that's recently come to Netflix, that not many people knew beforehand was Tag. Don't know if you've heard of it.
With,
Oh,
I've seen the
yeah.
trailer to it.
Well, it's a true story, isn't it, Tag?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it follows. I think it's well, it'd be primary school for us.
Oh, I know what you're on about.
Like
I've-
American
yeah.
primary school, high school, whatever that is. I don't know what it is.
Is it kindergarten?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Is it?
Is it?
Yeah, they were friends
That
in
young?
kindergarten.
Wow.
I only like because of kindergarten.
Thought that was
Cop.
preschool.
Can you tell we're British?
Let me
But,
just sip my tea.
Yeah, it follows childhood friends that have always had this endless game of tag, and one of their and it's based on a true story, and one of their friends is dying, and this guy's never been tagged, and he brings them all back together for one more game, and it's just a beautiful outset from the beginning and how it starts out.
I also think it's pretty funny as well. Like, it's got a few moments of just comedic genius in it. And it's just,
Yeah, it's brilliant.
it's like when they do one of the fight scenes they've got in it, not fight scenes, you know, when there's like so the guy that's
Yeah.
never been tagged,
Yeah.
stands
The
the
choreographed tag.
One of the tag
Yeah,
scenes.
yeah, yeah. And he just wipes out like 4 guys just avoiding them tagging him. And it's just,
Yeah.
It does that kind of Mission Impossible /
Yeah.
like slow thinking, like 4 o'clock night.
It's you in the mind of like a child then as well, I'm guessing. Like, because you even said it yourself, fight scenes. When you're a kid in primary school running around, it feels like the end of the world when someone's coming after you trying to tag you. So
This is how we trained for Hawkeye.
100.
Yeah.
He did this film and then he did
Yes.
Avengers. So this is how we trained for Hawkeye. Yeah.
Tag, definitely a good underrated movie.
Yeah,
I guess
good
I'm
film.
last. My underrated movie was I went for animated, right? Cars 3.
Oh,
Cars.
Oh,
How many of you guys?
Cars 3?
Oh.
Right, sorry.
Right, exactly right. So
I don't know.
Everyone's seen the first Cars, right? The first Cars
Yeah,
film is
yeah.
The first Cars was phenomenal.
I feel like
Straight up.
half of my things is going to be me saying, "Oh, I haven't seen that film. I haven't seen the film she did. I haven't seen that one."
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the first Cars film, watch it. You need to watch it. The second.
I know I've seen the first one. I just have no idea what number 3 is.
Okay, right. So this is why I think it's underrated, right? Because Cars 2 is the most utter garbage you will ever watch in a film.
Yeah.
They made it for the sole purpose of making toys, right? The Cars franchise has sold more toys than Toy Story itself, right? The Toy Story franchise. And that's this film about toys. So, Cars 2 it had spy cars in it. Had like it focused on Mater rather than Lightning McQueen. It was god awful. And so when Cars 3 was released, nobody watched it. Not only did nobody watched it, but everyone went into it thinking, "Oh, it's just gonna be another Cars 2," right? And it was the complete opposite. Cars 3 is the perfect sequel to the original Cars. Without spoilers, it's about a new generation of cars coming in. You know how like Lightning McQueen was the rookie in the first film? He's now the older cars and the more experienced ones. And there's new rookies coming in. So it's like
So it's like a Woody and Buzz situation where Buzz comes in and Woody gets outcast.
a little bit. It's
That's
something
the-
like that, yeah.
Is number 3 the one with Army Hammer in it, or is that number 2?
Can't remember. I'm not gonna lie, I can't remember.
I think you're talking about the wrong series.
Yeah.
We know this film really well.
Point is,
Somewhere.
Cars 3 underrated. I love it. The connection between
Okay.
Lightning McQueen and the new car that he trains, essentially. That's what I'm going to say about the film, because I don't want to spoil it. Is the relationship between those two characters is phenomenal. Perfectly written. Loved it. But no one watched it because Cars 2 was just bad.
Ruined it.
Well, I have to have a
I
movie
stopped
night, all
the
of us.
first one.
That's what we should do podcasts, and then our offspring will be watch with us.
Yes, yeah, we'll do like one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Name for the podcast. Watch with us.
Leave
Done.
it in the comments below. There you go. So we've got Saw 1, Gross Point Blank, Super, Burnt, Tag. Let's order them 1 to 6. I
Oh,
think Tag is still
okay.
a choice for that. I think Tag's got to be.
I
one.
think,
Tag's
yeah,
a
I've seen the
good one.
trailer for Tag, and like I wouldn't have thought of that, but yeah, no,
Tag
Mm.
is very underrated. It's
very
very
good.
Because it's one of those
Absolutely.
things where you have semantic value to something, and you like the idea of tagging someone doesn't really give you any feelings at all. But because of what they've gone through, you know, they tag them through the wedding, through his cancer, through everything. It's a good
Tag
thing.
is.
I think for a lot of people as well, there's that nostalgia of
Yeah.
such a simple concept that's then been stretched out into this
Full
well
feature
thought out
film. Yeah.
It,
plot,
make,
do you
it
know what I
makes
mean?
the sickness seem more like chilled because it's not a depressing movie. It's more of a comedy, but turned into a
Yeah.
serious situation because it's based on true events as well.
It sounds
Yeah.
like it's adding like humility to like a horrendous thing that we're all gonna have to go through
Yeah.
at some point, and the fact that it just because you're dying doesn't mean that you can't be a person and have fun, and you don't have the ability to laugh and be friendly with your mates like you would, and especially at a young age, that it kind of brings like humanity back to such a
Yeah.
horrendous time.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love Cars 3, Tag is got to be there. If we're going underrated category, if we're going underrated, Tag is got to be there.
Guys, you all
Yeah,
pulled out
okay.
some really good ones. I was so happy with mine.
I recommend watching all of them because the ones I haven't seen, I'm gonna go and watch because they're
Mm.
good.
I was gonna say The Life of Pi, but I think that's garbage as well. I think the only thing good in that was the picture.
Wow.
Bold.
Life
What?
of
You
Pi.
hold on.
Right, did you just
Come
say
on,
the life
come
of
on.
Pi is garbage?
It is.
We're already hitting
Dude, you can't
controversy,
just go
guys.
out
This is
with things
episode
like that. You
1,
need
and we're already
you
hitting
need to warn
controversy.
us.
What the hell's what's going on?
To our next category, most
Amazing.
overrated film of all time.
Oh,
Most
Anyone
overrated.
wanna go this one, by any chance?
Oh,
go for it, man.
Star Wars:
Oh,
The Force Awakens.
You didn't say okay.
Oh, here we
Star
go.
Wars Force Awakens. Why Star
Here we
Wars
go.
Force Awakens?
Zach's about to fight
Can I
someone.
just say we've lost half of our viewers already?
Yeah, right, if we're going to get to Star Wars now.
Let's go. I mean, we're in it now. We're in it.
Go on, Morgan.
Oh,
Why Star Wars
man.
Force Awakens?
Because it was a start for Disney in that franchise, and the way they started it off was the trailer and everything else built it up, and when it actually came out it was quite bad, you know what I mean, because everyone wanted it to be great because it came back after maybe 45 years of not being there, and then it came back.
Well, they had the prequels, didn't they, in like the early 2000s?
Well,
Yeah.
From the
But this was
original,
a follow-on
this
from the
is
original,
the
yeah.
characters from the original trilogy coming back. You know, we
Yeah.
see Leia again, we see Luke again,
Yeah.
and Han again. You know.
Yeah.
So it was a letdown, yeah.
I know
It was
there's
their,
a
it was their
conflict
chance to
now.
come back with a bang, basically going, yeah, new trilogy. We're going to make it even better than the
Yeah.
original, better than
I
the
mean, it
prequels.
was
And
Disney's like first go as well. So like
Hmm.
that they
The second one was
really
great.
could have made themselves look good, but
yeah, 100%. Don't get me started on The Last Jedi. Don't get me started.
Yeah, I think we just need to put a pin in the Star Wars, come back from another podcast, you know. That's like
Leave
a
it
big
for
podcast.
whole episode on Star Wars.
Go on,
That's an
Abby,
Easter egg for later on.
Abby, what's your most overrated film?
The Suicide Squad. Because right, do you remember when it
Oh,
all
that's a
came
good-
out
that's a
and
good choice.
I
everyone was
didn't
I
think
like
it
that.
was even rated. I was so appalled with it when watching it. I never thought it was a good film anyway.
No, I
I
just
totally agree with
remember a lot of my friends, they all went to go see it in the cinema and they were like, it's amazing and everything. And I was really excited for it because first of all, I'm a huge 30 Seconds to Mars fan. So the fact that Jared Leto was in it, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. I never actually saw it in the cinema, and it took me 3 tries to actually get all the way through it because like it wasn't. It was supposed to be this amazing thing, bringing all together like all the villains and like that, and it just I don't know, it just didn't hit right, and especially after like the other portrayals of like the Joker and that. But I think a lot of people liked it. I know a lot of the girls liked it because of like the Harley Quinn and Joker kind of thing, and that's why I think it kind of went a bit too mainstream and a bit overrated, because that was like all the Halloween costumes for that year and stuff, wasn't it? It was like,
the reason I think I agree with you. I think the reason why it suffered is because they almost needed an origin story for each member in the. Like Harley Quinn's got on her own film now, hasn't she? Birds of Prey.
Yeah, Birds of Prey.
I feel like they tried to kind of cram in a little bit of an origin story for each of them as well.
They needed to go Marvel style, have like an individual movie, like an Iron Man movie, like a Captain America, and then they needed to do that.
Yeah.
Then have
They
it at
need
the
to take that
end.
formula because they're not doing very well at all, really, DC.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, I've got more to talk about DC in a second.
Ooh.
Almost overrated film.
Okay, I'm probably gonna lose some people here, but I really, really disliked The Greatest Showman. I think it's a terrible film.
I straight up didn't want to watch it because of like the amount that it was being played everywhere, and that it's just really.
It's over. This is the greatest show. Shut up.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't
I've
know.
only too many
I
times.
really don't know what the producers were thinking when they wrote it, because it's not truthful of the main character anyway, because he was known to be a misogynist. He was able-bodiedist. He could, he completely prejudiced anyone who had a disability. He used them to make money in his circus.
Yeah.
And they didn't put that part of the story into the film at all.
It was glamorized.
It just felt so overset.
Yeah. If they tried to make it more true to life and actually go, this is the character and this is what he did properly, I'd probably respect it a lot more. But
you know that song where they're like,
yeah.
This is me. Oh, that can fuck off.
It's just like, yeah, this is you. Like sometimes like it fits the time period they're in, but for audiences, it's just like, yeah, we know. Like, I feel like, obviously, without going into politics or anything, everyone in society is generally a lot more accepting of everybody else than any other point in history. So when you see it on screen, it's just a bit like.
It's like, yeah, we are.
Okay, cool.
I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was just Oscar bait. It was,
I feel like as well, if because everyone around that time as well, like when those films were coming out, a lot of people liked the more truthful films and stuff, and they've kind of taken a topic that could have been used as like a more, not like necessarily serious, they could have still had it how it was, but like they've kind of they've turned it into a musical and stuff like that, when that was really serious in the time, and we're more of an accepting society anyway, that it could have been shown to be like, this is what it was like, but we're not like that anymore, and and this is how we should be, not kind of sugarcoating the horrendous stuff that happened to people in the circuses and that.
Well, they presented him as a hero, and he was a villain. Like, it's just total opposite.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you look into the history of like freak shows, as they were called, and stuff like that, and the circuses, it's just not, it's not very nice, and a lot of people joined them because that was the only way they were going to get money and stuff, and they didn't treat it with respect necessarily. Well, it's kind of like the Pocahontas thing, where like Disney did that and made it like this amazing story when she was actually a child that was like kidnapped and brought to England and that, and it's not right.
I agree. Moving on then, Billy, what's your most overrated film?
My most overrated film is Interception. I like the film.
Okay.
I like the film.
Okay.
But I think it's with a lot of things as well. When a game, song, film is so overhyped, you get such an expectation when you actually watch it that there isn't any film that could actually meet that expectation, because it was good concept. A lot of people, I think, kind of got into the hype of it and was like, yeah, it's this, it's that, but essentially it wasn't actually that big of a plot. The concept was good, wasn't actually as good as it was made out though. I think I watched it expecting to be sat there and just at the end be like, what? But the moment that I'm not going to spoil happens, and you're like, oh well, fair enough, cool. It's this or it's that. That doesn't really leave me questioning like what's life. But that's what I thought. I thought I'd watch it and there'd be this what's life moment, or there's this kind of deep thing that just goes.
Yeah, when you
But
get like
there
a
wasn't-
guttural reaction to a film or
Mm.
something.
There was no real
Yeah.
fireworks or anything.
No, that
But
makes sense.
a good film, yeah. Just
Yeah.
I agree with that. Just overrated.
Can I change my answer?
What, from Force Awakens?
Yes.
I'm gonna say no for time.
What?
For
No.
time, because we're
You've
on
said
time,
your
and
answer.
We need to get to Owen and we need to get to me. Final answers.
That's
Morgan.
all good.
You've locked in.
You've
That's it.
locked in.
You're locked in now.
Owen, go
You're
on,
locked
you
in.
go now. You go now.
I would definitely have to say the Ghostbusters from 2016, the
Oh,
new one.
The remake.
I'd have to
That-
say that.
The remake.
that physically
Because
hurts me.
The original Ghostbusters was fantastic. Loved every
Yeah.
single one of them. Then
They
they
were.
remade it with an all-female cast and Chris Hemsworth. I don't.
Yeah.
I.
Just didn't hit the mark, did it?
Didn't.
It's just like,
It didn't.
No, it didn't. I think that was
didn't
around the
remake.
time as well when everyone was like quality and stuff, but
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
it didn't
That's what I
land
think they
right
made
at
it.
all. They
It's-
turned it into a comedy, and Ghostbusters wasn't serious.
elements
I
of a
remember when I
comedy,
watched it when I was
but-
little, I was absolutely
Yeah.
shit scared of like the first bit in the library and stuff
Yeah.
like that. That it just didn't. It did. Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, it was definitely entering a bit where they tried to bring equality into movies. Like they had Rey in The Force Awakens. They had I can't remember what was the female doctor's name again.
It was
the
Jodie
newest-
Whittaker.
That's the one. Bringing her into it as well. They've got an all-female cast for Ghostbusters, trying to bring females into the into the limelight of being main characters.
Which is fine. You're allowed to do that.
Yeah, 100%. It's fine.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
as like
You can't just force it. Which
yeah,
Yeah.
as like a woman myself, like I completely understand why they wanted to do that, but you can't force a person into a role that they're not
100%.
qualified for. So like if they were an amazing actor and the writing was amazing and it fit, then yes. But if it was kind of just doing something for the sake of doing something, I don't think, because then it
It's not
takes
worth
away
it.
from the film and it makes the reason why you were making the film look bad in the first place.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree.
if you're gonna do it properly and
Do it
like
for the
give
right
them a
reasons.
decent script, give
Yeah.
them a decent like go at
Yeah.
it, and don't kind of just force like
But it's-
put in a
it's
jigsaw
almost like,
puzzle in a piece like where it's not supposed
Yeah.
to go. It just doesn't work.
It's almost like band-aiding it, I guess. It's like we want to do
In a
this.
sense,
it
yeah.
stands for a good thing. But don't just do it then to make the company look good. Do it because
Yeah.
give them
Because you
Well,
believe-
story
and give them
context
like good
or script.
like
yeah,
the
absolutely.
original Ghostbusters as well. They all had their own story kind of behind it, like they like the professors and that, and it they actually had there was other levels to the
Yeah,
characters
there's layers to
instead
it.
of just
Yeah.
being one-liners and then throwing
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth in there.
Just
Yeah.
back to the Force Awakens and Morgan's answer. They did so like with the build up to the Force Awakens, you had the trailer which had Finn holding a lightsaber, the poster
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
Finn holding a lightsaber. The very first scene of the film is Finn having a
Yeah.
Force connection with Kylo Ren. So you're like,
Yeah.
so Finn's the next Jedi, and then suddenly Rey has literally out of nowhere in the middle, halfway through the film, Rey has this vision. You're like,
Plan
oh,
for
so Rey's the
Jedi.
Jedi, and it's just like, and then subsequently in the rest of the sequel,
Yeah.
trilogy, Finn gets rejected and pushed aside, right? So it's just like,
Yeah.
you like really like,
We built it up to this, yeah.
yeah. And again, not going
I've got a whole
Star Wars,
podcast worth of stuff to talk about with the whole
It's
sequel
so-
trilogy.
Yeah.
So like, without going,
Like,
but,
yeah.
You know, so Ghostbusters is a good one.
When you look at forcing, sorry.
No, I was just going to go into my most overrated film, right? I put was The Watchmen from DC. Because
Yes.
That's a good shout.
Okay.
I respect that.
was
I respect
recommended
that.
This film by everybody. Right, it's 2 hours and like 15
Yeah.
minutes long. It's a really long film.
It's a
It is
long
quite
film.
a film.
It's better than Suicide Squad. I will admit.
Mm.
Because
Oh,
at least it
hands
gives
down.
backstory to the characters.
Hands down.
I had to watch it like Abby had to watch Suicide Squad. I had to watch like 3 or 4 times just to get to the end.
It's
just
hard to
like-
watch.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's like it's hard
It's,
to watch.
it is a heavy
Yeah,
watch.
And then by the end of it, they
Yeah.
kill off. I'm not nice. Okay, I'm not saying this. They kill off.
What
Spoiler.
happened to this is a no spoilers podcast.
I haven't said who or anything. They just kill off my favorite character in it. I'm like,
Name of the podcast, no spoilers. Done.
Nice.
it was just like, okay, it was such a letdown.
I do think the character of Rorschach is pretty badass though.
Yeah,
Not as one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When he's in the
I mean,
prison and he what was it? He smacks the guy with
Oh
the
yeah.
pan and then breaks the glass with the oil.
This-
That
this is
that
the
was
point.
that was a cool scene.
See, I can't say anything because, yeah, you're right. Rorschach was the best character in the film. It's just like,
The
but,
I loved
graphic
his
was
mask.
far
I loved his
superior
mask.
as well.
but
When he
Definitely-
changed with his heat. That was cool.
You
Jeffrey
can
Dean
actually,
Morgan had
you
a
can
great
buy
character
the
as well.
masks.
what was that?
Yeah,
You
I've seen that. You can buy the
masks
mask.
because
Yeah.
obviously with your breath being hot, it like does all the different
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
It's cool.
No, it's mad. So we've got The Greatest Showman, Suicide Squad, Force Awakens, Interception, Ghostbusters remake, or The Watchmen. Which one's the most overrated?
Oh.
I think Ghostbusters.
I would say the what? Yeah.
Would you say
Yeah, I'd probably say it's either.
Yeah, I think you've
Yeah, I was
convinced
gonna say
me.
Watchmen
I
as
mean,
well.
The Greatest
convinced
Showman
me
had a
watching
massive
yeah.
hype at the beginning, and people still
Got-
talk about
The Greatest
it,
Showman
but
has a
it's
massive
not that
hype
good.
over it, and he's got a
Yeah.
So if we're
large
going
fan base.
overrated, people rate that like
true? I agree.
a
And it
lot.
just sends the wrong message. It just sends like you can still get away with it and
Yeah,
still.
like, I think all of them have got their problems, obviously, and all of the films we all mentioned are worse than what we think they should be, and I think we all agree that every
Yeah.
single one of them's like that.
But I feel like as film people ourselves, we're going to criticize them a lot more than just the
Yeah,
general public
exactly.
going and watching them at the
So
cinema.
Yeah.
if we are going
100%.
most overrated, Greatest Showman, I think tops that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I think it's
Sure.
ironic how it's called The Great Showman. It's the worst movie.
the Greatest Showman, and
There
it's
you
the
go.
worst showman.
Literally. So moving on to the third category, we'll go with your favourite film with a useless side character. So a side character that was just there and didn't do anything for the story. You know, maybe just wasn't
Ooh.
funny like they should have been. You know, I'll start this one because you know.
Okay.
How to Train Your Dragon, another animated film. I like my animation, right? But How to Train Your Dragon, sublime film. Probably one of the best. Probably I would say the best animated film. Maybe Spider-Verse is a little bit better. Maybe, but you know. But there's just like 3 or 4 characters that are just there, and it's just like
Yeah.
Snotlout, Rough Nut and Tough Nut and Fish Legs, right? These 4 characters are just there for the sake of being there.
They don't really do anything, do
They're
they?
not funny, they don't do anything, and it's just like, get out.
Yeah.
I just don't want you in the film. But that's the only criticism I have of the film. So it's my favourite film with a useless side character. There you go.
That's a good one. I don't think
I
can
never
buy that.
actually thought of that before,
Hmm.
Yeah.
but
Go on, Abby. What's yours then?
right, I don't have a useless side character. I have a useless main character, and you
I
might
probably got the same as
fight
well.
me
Yeah.
over this. Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark
Get out.
had nothing to the story.
Get the hell out.
The Nazis would have got the Ark and died without him there. He actually helped them get it sooner.
Someone's seen The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah,
I
but
was
like
gonna say,
also,
exactly.
no, you listen
Yeah.
to it. It's absolutely true.
It is,
I had a
yeah.
conversation with my brother about this the other day, and he was like, "Yeah, but no, they got the Ark back to America and stuff like that." I'm like, "But did he really have any hand in that at all?"
You probably
Like-
made it worse, to be fair.
The
Yeah.
Nazis
It's the worst.
did
I
that.
get what you mean. Yeah, I do get what you mean.
I do understand what you're saying, yeah.
It's a good film.
I love that movie.
I mean, yeah,
It's not my favourite, but
Just a way to spoil the
Indiana
childhood.
Jones.
Yeah, you've just ruined my childhood. I can't believe it.
no, but like
No.
I love the
Yeah.
Indiana Jones films and that, but like
Yeah, no.
that one,
Useless.
after you think about that, it's just bad,
You can't
and then
watch
like
it. Yeah.
to be followed then by Temple of Doom, which just isn't the most amazing film either. At first, when you actually sit there and think about it, I love Indiana Jones, but like I'm destroying my own
Yeah.
like, childhood movies.
I mean, we can all agree it's better than the Crystal Skull, though.
Oh,
I've actually got. I'm going to talk about the
1000%.
Crystal Skull because that movie I hated it.
Yeah, it's,
I
I
hate it.
mean, it's not
Crystal
like
Skull.
My useless
no.
side character. I'm going to jump in now. Mutt
Okay.
from. It's either Mutt or what was the Indiana Jones's his colleague at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, with the
Um,
glasses.
Oh, yeah.
No, with the glasses. The
What's
his name?
Is that useless? You can't remember
The double agent.
Yeah.
This is enough.
The
Yeah.
double agent guy. I
Played
can't
any
remember his
impact
name was.
whatsoever.
But him or Mutt, those were just useless characters in there. Less so Mutt because it's part of the story because he's Indiana Jones' son with with Marion, but more so the double agent guy. Like, whose side are you on? Come on, make your mind up.
Yeah.
Pick
Yeah.
a side, stick to it.
He's actually with China, so you know, like, just doesn't know.
Got that Wuhan connection.
Yeah, he's got that Wuhan connection. Jesus.
Two Indiana Jones films so far. I think I know where this is good.
Mm.
Anyway, Finn, what's yours? What's your?
So I struggled with this one because I really wanted to keep it to a side character. But I recently watched Pacific Rim again, the first one, the one that was done by Del
Ooh,
Toro.
okay. Yeah.
And the first time I watched it, I didn't really think much of it at all because I wasn't invested in particularly the characters or the story when I first watched it. The second time I watched it, it's much better. It's much better the second time you watch it. And also, the whole vision that Del Toro has for the creatures is incredible. The
100%.
practical effects are insane. They're
Yeah.
just so good. And anyone that's making like water effects in movies needs to watch that film because it's the Transformers movie that everyone wanted. That's what it is. That is it. It's amazing. But the side character who's like pretty useless, he's one of the two scientists, and they're both kind of very stereotypical. Charlie Day's character Newt is a bit better though, and he's actually used in the film because one of I don't want to give a spoiler, but he basically finds a way to communicate with these creatures, whereas the other scientist character, or his whole arc is that he, in a scene, he has some chalkboards with some calculations, and he works out that basically when we should go to the rift, which is the Pacific Rim, is when there are 3 of these monsters that come out of the rift, and that's all he does. The only other thing I can half redeem his character is he shares his brain to connect with one of them, which you have to do because you can't. The neural sort of process takes 2 brains to use, which is the theme in the movie anyway. When you watch the movie, so yeah, his character. I can't remember his name. That's how much impact he had on me. I don't even remember his name.
Yeah, there you go.
He's a useless side character.
Twice, so you
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can't remember his name. I'll have to look up my IMDb.
That's fair enough. Billy, we'll go to you next. What's your
well,
with a useless side character?
people
Last
aren't
Crusade.
people aren't gonna like this one, but I'm gonna say Donkey from Shrek.
Oh, dude.
What?
Whoa. Time out.
I thought you weren't going to go there.
Explain yourself, sir.
Let's hear him out. Why is Donkey from Shrek a useless?
We hear him out and then fight him over it.
Not that, he adds to the story, but Donkey himself is just useless.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
With that,
That's the scope. I thought about it, and it popped into my head. I was like, Shrek. And it's one of them.
Actually, I kind of agree with you in a sense. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
You play on the annoying kid kind of character. And if Shrek didn't have Donkey, there probably wouldn't be a Shrek film, which then kind of puts it
Donkey's
into the
actually the main
perspective of
character.
Donkey's the main character of Shrek.
He's Donkey.
So you could argue though that he helps Shrek get that humility and actually makes him want to talk to people and do stuff.
Yeah.
So in that way, he's not useless. But other than that, what does he add?
It's just a fucking.
I just wanted to throw one in there that'd be a bit kind of like.
I don't know why.
People are switching off right now.
So don't
Actually,
at me
please.
Twitter.
Morgan,
Ambush.
What's your favourite film with a useless side character?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. It's the guy who's looking for a loan in the
I have
first.
not seen that film yet.
Yes, I know exactly who you mean.
Yeah, I know who you
I
mean.
can't remember his name.
Not much fun of him in the film, really.
I thought he was gonna say his little twig insect guy, and I was like,
Guys, can we just put out there, please no spoilers for this film, because I love Harry Potter with a passion, and I went to see the 1975 instead of watching this film, and I'm still regretting that.
No spoilers, don't worry. No spoilers.
No spoilers for the film, but he was the baker, right?
The actor. The character.
Dan, it's Dan Fogler.
Dan
Fogler. That's his name. I assume that's who you're on about, but I do get what you mean. Yeah.
I do understand what you mean because he's the one that sort of grounds it in the Muggle world, which makes sense. But I can understand what you mean. He doesn't add anything to the actual
There's
story.
pointless comedy with him, but I don't really. It's something that you don't really understand until it's really happened. If you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Mm.
You get more from the creatures than you get from him.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So this category we've got How to Train Your Dragon, Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones to the Crystal Skull, Pacific Rim, Shrek, and Fantastic Beasts. Which one wins this category?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I'd
That's a
say
tough one.
Indiana Jones.
I'd
One of
say
those.
because there's two of them, Indiana
Right,
Jones.
and I
So,
think
yeah,
Raiders
so
of the
one
Lost
of
Ark
them
is the
does
better
very good.
film to Crystal Skull, so I think Raiders of the Lost Ark's got to win, right?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's a win for Abby.
Thank you.
This
I
is
mean,
just-
like, no hate to Indiana Jones. I still love the films, but just like, why?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh, you love the Crystal Skull? Oh,
do
get
no,
out!
No, I do not love. No one loves the Crystal Skull.
Okay then, moving on to the next one then. The most emotionally impactful film you've ever watched. We're going deep now, boys and girl, obviously.
Thank you.
Ooh,
We should
that's
prepare ourselves with one. Just
guys, prepare
Take your
yourselves.
We're going reversal this time. Morgan, what's
Okay.
yours? Most impactful.
Right. Okay. This is the first one that made me cry. Marley and Me.
Oh, that's mine.
It's so sad, but like.
That's mine as well.
Marley and Me. So we got two
Yeah.
Marley and Me's.
so
Just
I've
about.
never actually seen Marley and Me. Can you like explain why it's so impactful?
Well, it's been a while since I watched it, but I know that I know what happens and what made me cry. But
Yeah.
basically, this couple raises a puppy, and you see it grow up with the family like extend with children and all that sort of stuff. And then, unfortunately, then there's something wrong with the dog, and then it dies. And it's really
Spoilers.
beautiful
Sorry.
throughout the whole.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
But
Okay.
is it about the sort of the build up that makes you
Yeah.
really invested in?
I
I think
think,
it just
yeah,
makes
it's-
you fall in love with the dog, and
If-
then
if
it's just
you
like bye bye.
pet yourself,
Yeah.
or you've had a family pet, it becomes another member. And
Mhm.
Marley and Me played on that to the max. Like they were like, "Oh, I've got a good idea how to get the whole world like crying.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Just kill the dog at the end, and it'll be all perfect." And then everyone was just there like, "Brum, done."
Well, yeah,
done.
exactly.
Well done,
Definitely,
yeah.
definitely a good choice. We
I
said,
think
we
that's
said
fair.
before the
That's a good
podcast-
choice.
Yeah, we said
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
the podcast started, if any of us agreed on anything, that one automatically wins. So it's not that we'll go through the others just to like, but I think Marley and Me's gonna obviously be at the top.
Yeah.
Owen, what was yours?
I would definitely have to say this is probably one of the only movies that's ever made me cry. Was Up.
Oh,
I'm
Oh.
sorry,
Good
but
one.
it's one of the most amazing movies ever. But the first 5 minutes of that movie is the most depressing.
Very
Yeah.
It's
sad,
the saddest,
yeah.
the saddest sequence, and you all know what I'm talking about. It's the bit where he grows up
yeah,
and gets
Yeah.
old with his wife, and then she dies.
yeah.
The
And he turns into
piano
a bitter old
music,
man.
everything.
The
It's
Oh
on
my
point.
god, it's the
it's absolutely best.
Pixar at its peak, 100%.
Yeah.
And I don't need to explain anymore.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
that bit.
Finn, what's yours?
So I've gone for probably something more towards money. It's a lot darker. It's 3 billboards in every Missouri. I don't think it's like probably. I find it hard to say the most emotionally impactful, but when I watched this the first time, I definitely cried about 4 or 6 times from different scenes. But it really, what it does so well is it sheds a level of humanity that we don't get to see in other films. There's not good guys, they're not bad guys, they're all flawed, they're all in this grey area. And one of the scenes that particularly got me was basically where the main character Mildred is trying to get justice for I don't know how to do this without spoiling it.
For another character.
I don't think this is spoiling it because this is basically just at the beginning of the film you find this out. So
yeah.
basically she's trying to get justice for her daughter who was raped and murdered. And she's trying and what she does is she rents out these 3 billboards that say more provocative things the further you get to the billboards. Now the issue with it is that she blames the chief constable. She basically names him on the billboard. And there's something that really tragically happens. And the conversation between these 2 people is that it's 2 people who are very entitled to their own tragedy, right? But you instantly you want to connect with one more than the other, but you just can't because they're both going through something really horrible. And you feel you feel so uncomfortable and helpless because you don't know what to do or how to think who's in the right or who's in the wrong, because neither of them are in the wrong. They're just suffering, and that's what it is.
Just sucks.
So 3 Billboards and Ebbing, Missouri definitely is a really emotional
It's a
movie.
good one. It's a good one to put in there. Abby, what's yours? Most emotionally impactful?
I had Cyberbully, the American one, not the British one with Maisie Williams. I think Emily Osment is in it, and it's basically everyone's been through cyberbullying, or everyone's had someone who's been affected by cyberbullying growing up, and it follows the story of a girl and who's gone to a school, like a new school, and it's kind of the equivalent of Facebook at the time has come out. And everyone's now joining it and stuff, and it kind of, if you've personally been affected by any like mental health issues or like cyberbullying, I think it will like really impact you, because it's about how I obviously won't give away too much, but it does end, it does round the middle time is a there's a scene where this girl has basically had so much of like the bullying and decides to try and end it on a Facebook Live, and it's not very nice, but like it's the reality of what happens. That's not the end, there's no spoilers, like obviously, and it's kind of the way if she comes out of that or not, and it's more impactful as well because it's children or like young people in it especially, and everyone can relate to that.
I think especially now with COVID, obviously hitting everyone hard.
That would.
You know, everyone's stuck inside. Everyone's online a lot more. You know, it's. I'd say yeah, and that's probably quite a good one. If Marley and Me hadn't had 2 votes, I think I'd probably say yeah, no, that wins the category. But
I think that out of all the questions, I think that gets like special name.
Especially Cyberbully.
I think it's it's Cyberbully. It's such an amazing film. I can't remember when it came out, but it was like, especially as well because Emily Osment, who plays the main character Taylor in it, she grew up doing like Disney Channel and like Hannah Montana and stuff like that, and so seeing someone you've grown up with also, or from my point of view, like doing that, then suddenly stepping into like, it's like she's been the characters of the children before, but now it's like next level. Now she's actually like kind of portraying the roles of what actually happens to the kids. Not everything is just like sunshine and rainbows, and it's like it's very like, it's hard hitting. Like get the tissues if you watch it, because it is like there's a lot that goes on.
My film then along the same lines. It's sort of to do with mental health again. It's all the bright places. I'm not saying it's the best movie in the world, but the acting is so phenomenal. It's based off the book All the Bright Places, and when I first watched it, I was in tears. I watched a lot of reviews and they said, oh, it's not exact to the book, and I'm like, you know, whatever. But I was bawling my eyes out of this film because the core message of the film is so strong, right? And the core message of the film is sometimes the ones you need you more, right? And it follows this guy trying to help a girl while also trying to deal with their own mental issues, right? And it's really emotional film. I've lost my train of thought, but no, I just thinking about it. It's on Netflix, so I can't explain.
What's it called?
All the Bright Places, but it's just
okay.
so relatable for the guy and the girl. Like if you, as a guy, you can see the girl's perspective on things, like in a relationship or whatever. It's a little bit different because the girl's had a previous tragedy that you watch the trailer and you find out what the tragedy is, like her sister died. So like, it's a little bit different in that sense, but you still connect with her because the writing is phenomenal and the acting. Not seen better acting in a film. Phenomenal. But yeah. Molly Me did get two suggestions though, so that tops it.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is fair enough. Molly Me is a heartthrob.
Let's go for a close second. What will be the close second to that category?
I would say, considering the times, Cyberbully.
Yeah,
that's a good show. 100%.
But yeah. Moving on to the next category then. Just moving on. We'll do something fun. What's a fun category we've got listed down? Give me a second.
What about the
best worst movie we've ever seen?
I've got the best. I've got the best one for this. I've got the best one.
You go first.
I've got the best one. Right.
All right.
So Birdemic.
Oh my god, Birdemic.
Yeah, yeah.
What
Abby
is
knows
that?
it. Birdemic, right? Basically, do you know the movie The Birds by Alfred Hitchcock?
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Imagine that,
horrendous.
but the complete opposite of the scale. It's basically where the birds are pretty much plastered on. They're like the
They're
worst.
literally like
the worst
Photoshop
thing you can
images
do.
of birds.
Yeah. This
Oh,
was
right.
made in 2010, and and this was just the worst movie ever. The special effects were crap. The
The
story
script
was
makes no
crap.
sense either, does it?
It
Like,
doesn't
the
make any
script
sense.
Isn't like
No.
Who made it?
it doesn't
It
sound like
was-
English. Like the sentence structures
was
of the
that? Who
scripts
was it?
aren't.
Just
So
it's just off.
The director was a guy named James Gunn.
He's like
I think.
really. He thinks it's a really serious film
Yeah.
as well. He's like
When he
believes
made it,
in
he
it. He's
tried
like
to
the
be like
best film
Alfred.
ever.
Yeah,
It's just
it was
Oh, God.
just no. So if you haven't seen it, do you know? I've just realised they made a second one.
Jesus.
I've just searched it up.
there's enough.
It's basically Sharknado, but worse. So
Oh, no.
Like just
honestly.
watch the trailer. It's
watch the
I'm,
trailer and you
I'm gonna jump in with mine after that. Sharknado.
yeah, 100%. Sharknado's
Um,
terrible.
I can't think how many of them there are. But
But
there
there's
is more than-
5.
About
There's
5.
5. There we go. There is
Yeah.
I
there
thought-
is 5
check.
Sharknados,
Yeah,
and
no.
I honestly do not know how they got past one. I've seen towards the end of
Yeah,
the first
basically.
one, and I was
No, I'll tell a lie. There's 6.
6. There we go,
There's
even
6
worse.
of
Six.
them.
There's 6 movies.
I got towards the end of it, and at first I looked at it and I was like, this isn't gonna be. I just spent the
No,
whole time
it's
laughing.
terrible.
I was there like,
Yeah.
it is so bad.
Wow.
It actually starts to be good, but for all the wrong reasons.
I
Terrible.
can't believe there's a saga of Sharknado. That's
The names of them just get me as well. Like Sharknado 1, Sharknado 2, the second one, Sharknado 3. Oh, hell no. Sharknado, The Fourth Awakens, Sharknado 5, The Global Swarming, The
Yeah.
Last Sharknado. It's about time. So,
they know
God.
it's a
Yeah.
joke and they play on it so well that they become.
They're
Yeah,
quite
I
smart
suppose
though,
that's
aren't
the
they? Because
difference.
they're raking it in right now.
Yeah.
100%. So Sharknado is one of those classic.
It's like a
100%.
hear me out movie where someone's very
Yeah.
drunk has gone, right, so hear me out. Sharks.
Yeah.
Yeah, driving a
Sharknado.
barge. Like, hey, guys, guess what?
I'm
I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Go on, Finn. What's your best worst movie?
So mine it's probably become an actual classic now because of just how bad it is. It's called The Room. It's by Tommy Wiseau.
The
I
room.
mean-
Oh no.
The best worst
Oh my God.
movie I have ever seen in my life. It's
Well,
the most
well,
memed. It's
Oh my
just-
god.
there is a film
Yes.
about it called The Disaster Movie, which is a good film. That's how bad the film is.
Same here, yeah.
I did not hit
it's
her. I
terrible.
did
The
not.
script, the
Oh, hi,
characters,
Mark.
the scenery, everything. It's
Yeah.
terrible. But it's
Oh, yeah.
amazing because it's so bad to watch. It's just, yeah.
The fact that they made a film about how bad the film was. It's like,
I know. And that turned out to be a good film.
yeah, it's-
Yeah.
That's the
100%.
irony. It's just like, oh, it's brilliant. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Oh, wow.
Abby, what's yours?
Right, see, I have a special love for this film. It's horrendous, but I do love it. It's Tusk. Have any of you watched it?
I'm leaving. It's not Tusk.
I've not
I'm gonna
tried.
describe this
What
for you.
does?
Imagine-
No,
imagine-
I love this. Let me.
Okay,
He's
fine.
a man.
No,
I thought it was fitting, first of all, because we're on a podcast and the movie starts with a podcast.
no,
And it's about a podcaster called Wallace who goes to Canada to do a story and is kidnapped and surgically turned into a walrus. By a
I'm just
crazy man.
looking at the pictures here, and I'm like,
I'm looking at the pictures as well, and
And
it's
the
just
thing is, as well, the storyline
grim.
and like the idea of the story came from an actual podcast where two guys were just chatting and was like, wouldn't it be funny if this happened? And it just makes it more amazing because like Johnny Depp is in the film. He's and Johnny Depp's daughter is in a film,
yeah.
and it's kind of like they took it really seriously as well. Like all of them knew it was a joke, but it's filmed
That's so
so
bad.
seriously.
Why it's so bad? Because it's like the film's clearly a joke. Yet they
I
really.
think these people definitely watched Human Centipede.
Yeah, that's what
At the beginning as well. At the beginning, it says based on a true story.
Yeah.
It's many
It's like it's not. It's just amazing. I love it, and I'm a horror junkie, and I wouldn't class that as horror. Like, obviously, there's gore in it, and it's a bit weird. Like, there's some times where you go, "Oh my god, he's just been turned into a walrus," but it's like, it's so bad, it's good. And there's also now a sequel. I think it's a sequel or a prequel to it called, I can't remember what it is, and it's a spin-off from that film about two girls who work in like a petrol station that have to fight tiny Nazi sausages. And so, like, just from that, you know that the film's not going to be good.
Just looking at the pictures of it, I saw the picture of obviously which must be the end where he is the walrus, and there's just that, I don't know.
That's like halfway through.
There's like that offbeat look to it where you're just like,
it's a bit like gross, but it's also a bit funny. And like, the walrus actually comes halfway through, so then you've got to go through the rest of the movie of this man just being a walrus and people trying to find him. And it's horrendous. It's got like Justin Long in it and like Johnny Depp, like good actors, but they're just.
It's bad.
Is it weird? I actually want to see this film.
Oh, watch it. I highly recommend it.
I definitely want to watch
just
it.
for the sake of it, just like.
Oh well.
I'm gonna say I don't think it's the best one on this list because I haven't said mine yet, and but I'll wait till mine. Morgan, do you want to do yours now?
Oh, let's go. Oh, no, that's a good segue.
Do you want me to go? I'll just do mine then.
Yeah, go for it.
Batman and Robin.
First.
Oh,
Batman.
okay.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I agree.
The
George Clooney, yeah.
are just like, bruh. Like, it's just do I really need to explain Batman and Robin? It's just like.
Not really.
Nothing you need to.
No. For the sake of the podcast,
I thought of this within 3 seconds. The costume.
You're like,
If you haven't seen Batman and Robin, just watch it. I promise you'll laugh.
It's probably free on YouTube
somewhere.
somewhere.
Mr. Freeze is the highlight.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I don't want to say any more about it, but it's love it. Morgan, what's yours?
It's more of a series where it gets worse and worse. Scary Movie.
Yes. Have you guys ever seen?
Oh,
I
love
appreciate
every single
movies.
scary movie. I love them.
I love horrible
I like scary
spoofs
movies.
of things, so I like them, but they are horrendous.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Was there a
Oh,
particular
God.
one that you think is the most terrible?
I would say the third one. If
Third one.
the third one was first, second, World War.
I think the other thing with them as well, if you've not actually seen the films they're referencing, it is just a really weird.
It's just a
Yeah,
weird
that's true.
thing.
It's
Yeah.
like there's just bits where it's like there'll be the pans moving, and obviously people will be like paranormal activity. If you've not seen it, you're just like,
Or like the
What-
Ring one,
what?
where the
Yeah.
TV
Yeah.
starts leaking.
Yeah. Maybe that's been saying,
people,
yeah.
you would just be so confused.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
that's a pretty good bit. Yeah.
that's a good shout.
So we've got, was it Birdemic?
Birdemic.
Epidemic.
That was it.
Yeah, but-
Please watch that because that's amazing.
Please watch it.
Tusk, Batman and Robin, scary movie. I think this is the strongest category so far. I don't
Yeah,
know
100%.
between any of
The
these.
thing is, if
I
anyone
suppose
else
we have
wants
to
a
decide
list,
because the question was the greatest,
Best
worst movie.
Yeah.
The
Mm.
greatest worst movie.
So if they're ones that,
Birdemic
like,
was
you'd
classed
love
as
to
one of the
watch, but they're
greatest bad
bad.
movies. Yeah.
I mean, I have a list of so many rubbish films. So if anyone wants like a list, I will list them straight off.
The thing about Birdemic, it's probably a really bad movie, but I don't think it's popular enough to be the best worst movie.
Would you
has a-
watch
it has
it
a-
again?
I would watch it again just
I'd
to
watch
take the
it to
mick out of
show
it.
someone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'd watch it
I'm
again
with
with
you.
someone who hasn't seen it.
Right, so
Mm.
Batman and Robin and Sharknado are the only two films I would sit by myself and watch just for the pure.
Yeah.
By myself, just for the laugh.
100%.
The
think
mind
it's gotta be
best
between those
of
two.
it.
But I don't know what you guys think.
Batman and Robin was terrible. I've got to say, I agree with that one.
Yeah, I
especially.
think I'm going to agree. It almost decimated
Just
the
like-
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah.
It's the greatest
What were they
worst
thinking?
It's
If
just,
anyone watching can truthfully say they've watched 1 to 6 of Sharknado, we will bring you
I've never
on.
watched the first one.
No,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah,
can
if
safely
someone's
say,
that committed to Sharknado,
yeah,
safely say, and we need
So-
evidence.
If you can say
We need
you've
evidence.
watched all of the Sharknadoes without drinking, then 100% you
Yeah,
are a
you did it
legend.
seriously and enjoyed them.
We will
Exactly.
Bring you onto a podcast. We'll dedicate an entire podcast just to Sharknado for you to talk about it. Just to get your
Yeah.
lights fired, and you can finally make use of those hours of your life that you. It's fine.
Competition time. Go away and watch it.
We're about an hour into the podcast now, so we'll do like 1 or 2 more categories. Should we do the best indie movie we've ever seen?
I've got a good
What's-
shout for this.
What is that?
I've got a
So
good
like
shout.
an independently made movie, not like not.
Yeah, indie just sounds more
like
independent.
Warner Bros. Or
Yeah.
Disney or something.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm gonna start. I'm gonna say Parasite. I don't know who else has got this.
Oh, it's such
I
a great
seen
I haven't heard of
Parasite,
Parasite.
Dude, you
I
haven't.
haven't.
Parasite?
Dude,
I actually haven't heard of Parasite. No, tell me about it. Tell me.
It's supposed to be really good.
Okay.
it's fucking incredible, that
Go
movie.
on, Finn. You talk about it.
Well, okay, so basically the premise is that there's this very, very poor family,
Yeah.
and it's based in Korea. Very, very poor family that they somehow have to get their jobs to entail to go into this richer family, and they all sort of
Okay.
covertly get their way into it. So the first is the son becomes a tutor for one of the daughters. The father becomes the driver, and the point is that they just underestimate the family so much that they take control of the house. They don't let the family back in. It's about
Oh
the
my
whole bit
God.
is the allegory is that you don't know which one is the parasite, even at the end when everything's happened.
Yeah.
It's another one where all of the characters are great, none of them are good or bad.
Mm.
There's not. I couldn't think of a fault with the film.
It's
Like,
incredible,
really
cinematic.
Like,
Genius.
was that your
Oh.
option, Finn? Parasite.
It isn't, but
Okay,
now
okay.
I feel like I could talk about it. As well.
You got like really excited.
But I love that film.
Mm.
Parasite. Yeah, it's great.
What was yours?
Mine.
Yeah. What was your choice?
So mine's is Christopher Nolan's first sort of stylized film, which was before his short films, was Memento. Memento is an amazing movie. So basically, the premise of it is that this guy is trying to find who killed his wife after a home invasion, and what happens is during the home invasion, he gets hit on the head, hit into a mirror, and he gets very severe amnesia, to the point where he has to tattoo on his body the things that have happened to him to try and remember what's happened. The film is filmed in black and white and colour, and the reason
Yeah.
is because the colour's meant to be his mind, so what he's manifested, and the black and white is meant to be the objective truth, but it doesn't show like half of the black and white and half of the colour. It shows them spliced together as like one timeline. It's
Okay.
incredible. It's so good. It's one of the best like what was it saying is the unreliable narrator. You don't
Yeah.
know which character to trust, even at the
Yeah.
end. You don't know what's happened. Yeah, it's
I think it's the
such a
best
good
one
movie.
we have though, where it's just you're left on a cliffhanger though, isn't it? Where you just
Yeah.
don't know what's happened.
but it's I'd say like as much as Billy thought like Inception was overrated, I think this one is underrated.
Mm.
It's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Fair
The
enough.
it's concepts and layers, isn't it?
Yeah,
That one,
absolutely.
definitely.
I think it's if you're looking at it as an objective filmmaker standpoint, I would certainly agree that it is underrated and phenomenal. But if you're just looking like a casual film viewer, maybe it's not as good. But
Yeah, I can see that.
But,
It's quite convoluted and it's very complex. But if you're invested in the story, it's so good.
100%.
It's so good.
Mm.
Billy, hit us with yours. Best indie.
Mine. So, does anyone remember the Turn Down for What video?
Yeah.
Sadly, yes.
So sadly, take the two creators of that,
Yeah.
give them a budget, they make the first film. Swish Army Man.
Swish.
If you've
Swish
never
Army
watched
Man.
it,
Why
watch
have I
I need to
heard
search
of
it.
that?
I didn't know it was
it.
done by
It's
them.
amazing. They got Daniel Radcliffe in there, and it's set on a desert island.
Paul
Oh
Dano.
no, yeah, no, I
Paul
think I've
Dano.
seen the trailers
Yeah.
to this. I've heard a lot about
There,
it, yeah.
there is so many lines in there that are amazing. If you don't know Jurassic Park, you don't know shit. And there's just bits like that. So it starts off with this guy, who we find out later on. And if, I won't spoil it, but the twist at the end again is an amazing film. But in interview, they were talking about it, and they were saying like, what a bizarre film. It was like, we wanted to make a film all around making a fart emotional. And it starts with a fart and it ends with a fart. In between, and especially if you've seen Turn Down for What video without being too explicit, you know, there's different parts of the male body that pops up and down, which, you know.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but it's rated 7 out of 10 on IMDb and 72% of Rotten Tomatoes. So it's got to be it's a good.
So yeah, you follow these two characters through the woods, and you see the highs and the lows, and it just gets weirder and weirder. And yeah, it's a feel good. It's got a bit of a twist that makes you go like, what? There's obviously, because they were made down can't speak. Turned Down for What? They made the whole soundtrack in there as well. It's the eBay advert used one of the songs as well, where it's like pop, 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 popcorn, da, 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 that one.
Nice.
So even if you don't watch the film, listen to the soundtrack because it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Morgan, we'll go with you. Best
Okay.
film that you've seen.
So The Imitation Game with Benedict Cumberbatch.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good choice. Yeah, I like that movie. It's a good one.
Very emotional.
Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch is great in that film as well.
Yeah.
He's brilliant in that film.
That was one of the main reasons why it was so emotional, because of how he portrayed the character.
He's a great actor, phenomenal. I think he's,
I think that film actually sparked another film that's coming out. It's not in cinemas yet, but it's coming, called The Courier, where he plays another spy. Oh, you've heard of it?
Yes, I have seen it, yeah.
I have heard of it.
I think
has
that
really come out there,
performance
hasn't
inspired
Yeah.
why they cast him in that role, because he's so good as Alan Turing. Yeah,
I think the director for that was Martin Tildrum or something. I think it's one of the only ones that actually was successful for that director as well.
Yeah, so The Courier is the upcoming film you're on about is a true story of a British businessman unwittingly recruited into one of the greatest international conflicts in history. Oh, that's the description on Google, right?
Yeah, it sounds like sort of the next Imitation Game.
Yeah,
it sounds amazing.
The Courier.
Yeah, The Courier.
The Courier.
So yeah.
Awesome.
That's a good one. Owen, what's yours?
Right, I've got two, and they're more like kind of like documentary indie films in a sense.
Okay.
So first one, this one you've heard of probably. The second one you probably haven't heard of. So the first one is Free Solo.
I have heard Free Solo. Yeah.
100% just Disney Plus. Watch it. If you're into rock climbing like myself, watch it. It's fantastic. Talking about, no ropes, no equipment, just with a chalk bag and a pair of shoes, climbing, scaling one of the biggest rock faces in the world. So 100% need to watch. The second one, a bit more closer to my heart due to what I do for a living, is a Red Bull made documentary called The Grand Inca Project. Now, it's essentially in the Congo in Africa, there's a set of rapids, and these are the most dangerous rapids in the world. Essentially, imagine whirlpools the size of football fields, and that's the scale of the rapids. And it's basically the documentary of 4 expert level kayakers attempting to go down these rapids and talking about their journey from being where they already are, practicing, to then take the rapids on, and talks about the history of them finding the rapids in the first place and the people who have lost their lives there. Hits closer to home with myself because I love paddling, and it's rapids. So 100% I would recommend watching it. It's on Red Bull, so if you've got a Fire TV stick, watch it. It's fantastic. So watch it. It's fantastic. If you love paddling like myself, watch it. 100%. You won't.
Recommendations all the way. Abby,
Movie recommendations.
Actually, right. So before yesterday, I had a different film for this category, which was The Falling. But yesterday, I ended up watching Call Me by Your Name, which I was talking to you about before.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. It's like shot beautifully as well. It was based on a book about a rich family that live in Italy, and the dad's a professor. And it's kind of and every year in the summer he has an American like grad student come and stay with them, and he kind of mentors them and helps them get their doctorate and stuff like that. And it's written from the point of view of his son Elio, who's 17 years old. And that's the book. But in the film, so I watched that yesterday. I've been recommended it a lot, but I never actually watched it, and I don't know why I didn't watch it sooner, because it's amazing. And it's from the point of view of like, it's like a coming of age film, and like how everyone just kind of looks forward to like the summer afternoons when you can just sit there and you can be yourself and you can be free and stuff. And it follows the story of Elio and the grad student Oliver, who comes and moves in with them, and how they kind of form like they're like friends, and then they become each other's soulmates and kind of fall in love. And I think it doesn't matter what your sexuality is, it doesn't matter like who you are. I think you will really enjoy that film. It's like amazing. It's beautifully shot. The story is like so beautiful, and it's really well acted. It's Armie Hammer and Timothy Chalamet, and it was like one of Timothy Chalamet's like first like big roles. And he was 20 in it. And to see an actor that's so young be able to take on such a serious topic and execute it amazingly, I just think it's a really good watch. It's just everyone can relate to like having that like summer romance, being on holiday, and just all you want to do is just lay in the grass or go swimming and just be with this one person. And it's lovely. It's such an amazing film.
Perfect.
I recommend it a lot.
That's a good one. No, it's good. So we've got Parasite, Memento, Swiss Army Man, Imitation Game. I keep saying that wrong. Free Solo, or Grand Inca. I don't know what the Prospect. Is that it? Owen?
Project.
Grand Inca Project.
So
Prospect.
Swiss Army Man. I can't speak today. Imitation Game, Free Solo, Grand Inca Project,
Here we go.
I can't remember.
How dare you call me by your name?
Call Me by Your Name.
How dare you?
Also, it's got an amazing soundtrack, so if you like
Yeah.
just chilled music, listen to the soundtrack.
Which one do we think wins then? Best indie film.
I think because I was area between Parasite, I think Parasite's probably going to be mine.
Parasite's won a couple of awards now, hasn't it?
Yeah. It won the Best Picture Oscar.
Yeah.
I think
There we go.
It's got to be Parasite then. We can't go against the Oscars, right?
But I think Abby's description needs a special mention in that category, I think.
Oh, I love it so
I've
much.
got
Just
to
watch
say.
the trailer and you'll understand.
Special mention there, definitely.
They're all
So,
amazing.
I would say we probably have time for one more category. So, a sequel film that was better than the original.
Oh,
If there is any,
trying to think there.
because sequels tend to be worse. So, what are the best ones? Who wants to start? Go on.
I'll start.
Go on, Morgan.
For me, I'm gonna go back to Star Wars.
Very weird.
we're saying
Between-
better.
Between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, one that everyone seems to like now more than the other is Empire Strikes Back, and personally, that's my favourite one.
Empire Strikes Back, classic. Yeah,
That's a good one. Yeah.
it was
It's the classic sequel question.
Iconic.
Well, it was like A New Hope was like incredible, right? And everyone loved it.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
The Empire Strikes Back is what defined the Star Wars trilogy.
Amazing.
because
Yeah.
No one expected
Pretty much in one line.
It had
No one expected it to be a trilogy.
It has the
Yeah.
biggest
Oh.
surprise in movie history. Luke,
Yeah.
I am your father. I don't care care everyone. If you have,
No.
honestly, everyone knows this quote. If you don't know this
Yeah,
quote,
yeah, true.
then
Yeah.
Where have you lived for the past
you
Mm.
couldn't
nearly
Facts.
like 45 years? Where have you been?
It's pop culture. It's like
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
defined
You're
the
forgetting,
It's pop culture.
It is,
you're
it
forgetting
is.
one of the biggest
Pop
quotes.
culture, man.
Do- Zach, there was do or do not, there is no try. That was the origination of that
That's right,
quote.
Yoda. Yeah. It's,
I was panicking where you was going with this, Morgan, when you said Star Wars and we're talking about sequels.
I know.
I did panic
was-
thinking,
like, no,
hold on a minute, where's he going? Hold up, wait a
Oh,
minute.
here before. Abort.
Abort. I'm pressing the button.
We've all got ejector seats in our rooms.
but no, Empire Strikes Back, solid choice. Owen,
Yeah,
what about you? What's yours?
Oh, a sequel that's better than the original. I don't know really.
Should we come back to you?
Come back to me. Come back to me.
Take
Yeah,
one,
come back.
Okay, mine. Toy Story 2.
Toy Story. I knew a Toy Story.
Oh,
Okay,
I
that's
have
not
to
bad.
agree.
That's
I
not
have
bad.
to
That's
agree.
not a bad one.
You know, there's not much to say, but yeah. But out of all the Toy Stories, I've got to say the ending on the last one. People for me were raving about Avengers Endgame being their end of the childhood, and I was there in a conversation, and I just went, "I'm really sorry, I can't relate." And they were like, "I was like, I went and saw Toy Story 4, and when I'm gonna put a spoiler, skip forward a bit." When they're on the top of the caravan and Woody finally finds out where he belongs, I was sat in the cinema and Summit just went, and I was there like,
Baby.
wow. I was just there. Boom. Summit just went off in my head, and I was like,
Yeah.
it does not get better than that moment there. Childhood summed up to this point right now, finding where I am. And I was like, Avengers Endgame, nah. This, yeah.
What
So
happened to Toy
that's
Story
gotta be for
3?
me. Toy Story 3.
Yeah.
It was just a filler, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
It was good. We're not denying it was good.
I
Like,
thought it was good. It was just-
Yeah, I get why Paul's better. Yeah.
It had that
Yeah.
moment where they were like crawling in to the big fire pit, they all holding hands. And I was like, there is no way this is how Toy Story ends.
Toy
What,
Story,
like,
yeah.
they can't do that to kids.
Agree.
Like, the toys just burning and incinerate.
They just melt.
Like,
That's the ending of the movie.
Yeah, it's one of the few franchises where every film is good,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Including the sequel. Yeah, so that's a good one.
that's a good choice.
We'll move over to Abby then. What's yours? Hit us with it.
I was thinking of Hunger Games Catching Fire, because like
I was
the
thinking
first
that
one,
as well. Yeah.
the first Hunger Games movie is amazing, and if you read the books, they're so good, and you kind of are introduced to the world in the first one, but the second one is the realization of the characters and them having PTSD and feeling trapped, and they finally feel the release of, oh, we've been in the games, we don't ever have to come back, and then them being forced back into it. And
They're just being like,
Yeah.
it's like
well.
all the people as
Damn.
well, like in the first film they are
Yeah.
kind of identified as all being enemies. Everyone from the different districts are enemies, and some districts will fight for something, some don't really like it. But in the second one you see them all, especially that scene where they're all holding hands and they're like, we will do this but we don't want to. And I think it's just very powerful, and like it's like the next level. It's going deeper into like the society and the issues that, especially like Katniss herself, she suffers from really serious PTSD, and how in a society that's not helping them, how she deals with that.
100%. I agree with that one. Owen, you got one now.
I've got two. They're kind of. I've got two. Okay, I'll do one. Okay. Let's go. Skyfall. Skyfall was a good movie in my opinion. I loved Skyfall.
Go on.
That for me, just the intro song. Every James Bond movie has a great intro song. Adele
True.
knocked it out of the park
Very
with this
true.
one, with Skyfall. I know
Well,
Sam
see-
Smith did a fantastic job in Spectre, but
Mhm.
But
Adele.
nothing hits as hard as Skyfall.
Spectre
Nothing hits as hard as Skyfall.
wasn't as good a movie anyway, so yeah,
Mm.
it's not really.
Is that a
comparison.
sequel?
Yeah.
Like, what was the first one? That
Casino
You
Royale?
You had for the James Bond for Daniel Craig, you had Casino Royale, Quantum Solace,
Yeah,
Skyfall,
that's the one people forget.
Spectre, yeah. and then you've
No
got the
Time
new
to Die.
one,
No Time to Die.
No Time to Die, yeah. which has been
Yeah.
postponed till end of this year.
Yeah, I think
Even
Skyfall,
longer,
it's emotionally impactful as well. Skyfall,
100%.
it's good. It's good.
And Silver as a villain was
Oh,
Judy
on
Dench
point.
though. Judy Dench.
Yeah.
yeah.
Finn, what's yours?
So mine's Terminator Judgment Day, the second one.
That's
I
a good
think
movie.
it's
That's
a
a good one.
phenomenal film. It
Mm.
obviously it basically made Arnie's career from that second film. I know he was in the first one, but I don't think it got as much audience acclaim. And also, what was interesting about the second one is it changed genre from a horror film into an action film. I think people felt it was more personal with the relationship between the boy Sarah Connor and obviously Arnie's character.
Sarah Connor.
Yeah, it's got so many catchphrases.
Sarah Connor.
Fantastic. And also it set apart special effects with
Yeah.
the Liquid Terminator. Like it's just it's a
For the
great
time as well.
What year was it released again? I forgot.
I think it was in the 80s. I think it was. It might. Let me check.
I was about to say that the special effects at the time were like,
2.
I remember them being quite good. Like,
Oh no, it was made in 91.
91, yeah.
So like, you know, it's,
91, so 30 years ago.
yeah.
That's pretty good for his time.
30 years ago, that is mental.
Terminator Salvation. That was a weird one. Because that
I like that one.
I like it as a standalone film, but in a genre of Terminator, it doesn't fit. But it is. I think if the franchise took it and did that as just a standalone film, it'd be a good action film. But it was confusing because the one after that then went back to this kind of natural Terminator world, I guess. So I was a bit like,
So my one, my best sequel was I went Thor Ragnarok.
Yes.
Best Thor film. Final one of the trilogy for Thor films.
I agree.
Another Thor film. What am I saying?
They're making another one.
They're called Robin Thunder.
It's amazing.
I know someone who is an extra in that film, and he said it was so fun to film. Yeah, it's one of my dad's best friends, Damon, was an extra in the film. He said he met Chris Hemsworth whilst he was going to the loo, and said it was the best thing ever.
It's one of them moments where it's like, do you act professional or do you just go like full fango and you're just like, hi, it's really nice. I really hope we can work with it. That's what I am.
Looking like a lunatic. Hi, how you doing? Yeah.
But no, Thor Ragnarok. You know that moment where he's got his lightning powers and he just jumps down onto the bridge, and you got that song in the back going. Just
love that song.
Soundtrack is amazing. Yeah, I agree. It's a good one.
Hulk, you moron!
You've got Empire Strikes Back, Toy Story, Hunger Games: Catching Fire, Skyfall, Terminator: Judgment Day, and Thor Ragnarok in this category.
Solid load.
That's
a solid section.
I love Ragnarok.
I think I'm gonna have to exclude myself from this one because I haven't actually seen half of the ones that you've all said. I don't think I've seen any of the ones you said.
I know you're watching the MCU films now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm watching through MCU now, like in release order.
Star Wars.
Yeah, what about Star Wars?
Oh no, that's amazing. That's an amazing film.
I think for the pure impact it had on the film culture and sci-fi and pop culture, Empire Strikes Back has got to win.
Yeah, Dad, I'd have
That's
to.
a good shout. Yeah, that is 100% a good shout.
The impact it had.
Yeah, that's
100%.
fair. That's fair.
So, we're about an hour and a half into the podcast now, so I think we should draw it to a close. Usually we're going to do like a Q&A after like the podcast, just from any questions that anyone leaves in comments and stuff. But you know, we don't. It's the first one, so we don't have any of them at the moment. I'll just go over the winners for each category then. So we had the most underrated film. The winner was Tag. Most overrated film. The winner was Greatest Showman, because film with the most useless side character was Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Marley and Me won the most emotionally impactful.
Yes.
Then we had Batman and Robin as the best worst film. Parasite is the best indie film, and Empire Strikes Back as the best sequel film. And I think we know the spot with a lot of them.
That's a good selection. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good one.
even though more of those.
But to
Strong films and
people
that.
listening, hope you enjoyed it or watching. You could be watching. I guess you're watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
Hello, goodbye. Thank you for
Hello.
joining us.
Bye.
Next
Bye.
week, be sure to join us next week. We'll have
Yeah.
we'll have an actual podcast.
Same time.
We'll
same
actually
day.
have a name then.
We'll actually
Yeah,
podcast.
We'll have a name by that point.
But we will have one.
Like, subscribe to
Yeah,
keep today.
like, subscribe,
Not the
keep it
comments.
Donate to our
Little bell
Patreon.
icon.
We need the money to keep us going.
please.
As you
But-
can see, it's a very expensive
Please
setup.
like
So
us,
any money
yes.
is
Exactly.
Early access on.
I have to play the landlady.
Wait, Owen, isn't the landlady your mother?
So, guys, thank you for watching the podcast.
Leave comments on if you want to hear anything, hear us talk about anything specific. We'll catch you guys in the next podcast.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.